Welcome to Talk Tennis. On this episode, I am joined by Quinn Borchard. Am I pronouncing your last name correctly?
It's like Borchard, but like orchard with a B in front of it. So everybody tries to put a little bit of like flair
Like
on
French,
it.
yeah.
It's really just like it's Borchard.
Okay, Quinn Borchard, thanks for joining me. I wrote some notes. Top SoCal junior, top college player at Portland, played pro and ITF circuit, currently a teaching pro, coach, father, husband. Your son just won Little Mo. You also play pickleball. You recently, within the last few years, didn't you guys win a national title as an adult? So still competing in tennis, all around tennis enthusiast, badass, and all of the above. And welcome. Thanks for joining me.
Thanks for having me, Michelle. That's a nice intro. Yeah, a lot of stuff going on. But super nice intro. I'm super happy to be here, and I'm ready to get it going.
Yes. Okay. So I really wanted to have this episode and have you give a bit of a perspective as not only a tennis parent, but a tennis coach who's coaching an up and coming player. And, you are on all sides of it. And I think that tennis parent relationship can be a tough one to navigate. And also the tennis coach relationship can be a tough one to navigate. So yeah, give us a little bit more. You give me your background, your bio and all that. And then give me the information about your family and how that dynamic is.
Oh, wow. Okay. So yeah, like you said, I'm from Southern Cal. I played Southern Cal junior tennis. I did that whole thing. And then I went to college at University of Portland in Oregon and played 4 years for the Pilots. And then after that, I came back home and kind of was teaching a little bit. And then at 26, I got the head teaching pro job at Sunset Hills Country Club in Thousand Oaks. And I've been there for 13 years. It's been a great place. I'm super happy that they've kept me on and they like me, hopefully. And been doing that for a long time. And yeah, and still kind of got more into playing actually as I got into my late 20s. I'm 39 now, so a lot of different roads, but I started playing a lot more when I was in my late 20s and got a little bit better, and then just kind of got a little bit more better and kept playing, and then was playing some doubles and kind of dabbling a little bit in like the futures when I could win the wild card tournaments and things like that. Won High men's open doubles one of the years with one of my buddies from Pepperdine, Callie Henson. And yeah, just did that. And then I was on won a couple gold balls in the 35s nationals. And
I'm jealous. That's always been my goal, like back end to get the gold balls, and you've already done it.
So. Yeah, it's weird. I've got a few. I won one in the National Open in 2012, but then I as soon as I kind of got to be 35, I was like, I could maybe still play. And just found a couple good partners, Nick Rainey and Darren Cohen, and luckily they carried me through, and that was cool. So yeah, and then during COVID, it was really not very much. So I was just kind of training my tennis group, my kids group, mostly through there, and then started playing pickleball and was doing a lot of pickleball for a while. I think I got to be like top 20 in the world in singles, which sounds, I think, a little bit better than it really is, but it's still pretty cool. And then, yeah, now kind of still playing some pickleball, but my junior group at Sunset and with all the coaches, is really kind of taking off. So we're really excited about that. And I think that'll be a nice thing for a long time because the juniors are awesome and they're young. And so never really had really young ones be doing really well. So super excited.
That's okay. I have so many follow-up questions.
I know. Absolutely.
Are you still looking to compete for yourself? Are you still training that way? And what does training and now that we're in our late 30s, look like for you? If you're getting ready to go play nationals and all that, how many hours are you spending on the court? Is it less about court time, more about gym time? Are you sprinting? Are you playing just more matches? What does that look like?
Great question. So I have a wife and 2 kids, and I have 2 boys that are 8 and 6. And my wife has a pretty big time job. She's a business owner, and she is doing a lot of that. So I have a lot of, I'm kind of mostly taking care of the boys if I can, as much as I can. So training, not great. You would be surprised. I'm going to probably try to do 40s because I will turn 40 this year.
Okay.
And I'm probably going to do it the hard court one because that's in La Jolla, and then it's also father son, so I can play with my son James.
Yes.
So like it's the same kind of thing. So I'm definitely going to start training. What that is, hopefully get some college guys to play with me. I do get a little bit of hitting when I'm teaching. It's going to be tough. Luckily, like I play a game that doesn't really necessarily need a lot of things. I'm a old school serve and volley, first, second serve, ground strokes are very dicey, but my volleys and serve are still good. So doubles and singles is okay. So I don't really have to do too much, but I do need to get more in shape because I haven't really done a whole heck of a lot lately. So,
Okay.
but I'll get there. The 40s is in like latter part of the year. So
okay, I know. Like if there's mixed doubles 40s and you want a partner next year, like I like
I'm in.
so
I'm in.
okay.
I'm looking for a mixed partner for sure.
Dude,
Absolutely.
let's
That's
do
great.
it.
That
I am
if you can get a gold ball, or you can get any kind of ball. Trust me, I was super pumped when I was happy.
it's so intimidating too. And like growing up in SoCal, like you could like look to your right, look to your left, and you have like amazing champion players like to practice with.
Right.
And then you get older and it's like life happens and it's like you have an hour to do something for yourself. And you're like, do I go to the gym? Do I go for a hike? Do I do yoga? Do I play it just kind of or for you, you're probably like, what do the kids need? And like, how do it's a lot of juggling.
Yeah, it's a busy life right now, for sure.
Okay, so we got you. We're working on that 40s gold ball. I love it. I'm here for it. With the kids. Okay, talk to me more about this junior program. To me, what I've seen is like you've essentially created this group of junior players that like it's super fun. They're having a great time. How many hours are they training? What does the training look like for them? Are they, hitting all day or are they doing stuff that doesn't require hitting? Are you doing mental stuff? What kind of like conditioning are you doing? And if I didn't say, what are the age group? What's the age?
Okay, I guess I'll take you through the history of it.
Yeah.
So kind of, I would say 6 years ago at Sunset, we created a program it was obviously like I had invested interest because James, my son, he was 2 and I took him out on the court and I was actually kind of amazed like what we could do. And so it wasn't like, oh man, this is awful. Like you can't like, we're not why we need, he could do some things. And I was like, well, maybe like if I get some of his friends, we can do a little class. And then kind of from there, like there was other kids that wanted to play. And so we kind of built this program and we started it. We had like a 2 to 3 year old class, a 4 to 5 year old class, and 6 to 8, and like kind of did that. And it's been nice. And kind of from there, and we're still doing it, but like from there, we've built kind of a thing that is really grown. So like some of the kids that I'm working with, I have worked with since they hit their first ball at like 6 years old or 4 years old. I have a couple kids that were literally 3 years old when they started, and now they're playing Southern Cal tournaments, and it's a really cool thing to see. Because in junior tennis, like especially when you're coaching, like you don't necessarily, it's hard to see kids all the way through. Not saying I'm going to, but like it's really special for me to know. I remember like that particular kid's first day on the court, and me telling to the parents like, hey, I think they can be really good players, and now it's kind of happening.
Mm-hmm.
And it's as a coach, like I mean, it honestly it excites me so much, but it's also just so cool to see the kids grow up and do really great things on the court.
I think the obvious question is like, where's the fine line between having fun, starting to succeed, and burnout? Because I would assume it's already, I don't know. And you also like juggling parents' personalities.
Okay.
Without offending anyone.
So for me, and I won't say I'm a little different, but I'm a little different. I come from a little bit more background. So I was at Cabrillo Racquet Club with Wayne Bryan and Mike and Bob, and and I had some coaches that really, to be honest, like were more about fun. Like it was about having fun and really kind of hooking the players onto the aspect of tennis being fun. And so for me, I think I'm going to do, when I do my coaching and I do my classes, that I'm going to be more on the fun. The technique stuff, yes, that's important, but that can come later. I don't think you can grind these kids so much doing 20 balls cross courts and then like, oh no, the forehands, it's not here, it's here, and I think that that's not fun. They don't want to do that. Not saying that they shouldn't do some of that, but we're going to always go more for, let's play some fun games, let's do this, and let's keep it fun, because if it's not fun, nobody's going to want to come, and tennis is going to be boring, and then you go into the burnout factor. Whereas when I see, and everybody can do it their own way, like there's no right way. I just know the way I do it. But when I see parents out there with the ball machine, grinding the kid, talking about strokes, like every single stroke, like I don't think that's fun. I don't think that's fun for any kid. It may work for them, but for me and for what I've seen, I think the kids really want to play and enjoy themselves. And I'd rather do that than really work like crazy technique stuff. Like when you do privates and stuff like that, you can work technique, but like when you do the group classes, like it should be fun first. And then from all that else, that's what builds motivation to be like, oh, like tennis is great. Like I want to come to the class. I want to come because like we're doing all this cool stuff. And not like, oh yeah, no, like 10-year-old is like, oh, you know what? I really want to work on my contact point of the forehand. If it's, just get it an inch. They don't really want to do that. They want to play. They want to have a good time. They want to have a nice experience coming to the court. And that's what I try to do. And that's what our staff at Sunset Hills is always trying to do.
Yeah, that is awesome. And I would assume you kind of mentioned this like parallels how you grew up in tennis, or did you have like any experiences as a junior player that you're like, okay, I definitely am not going to replicate that because that wasn't fun, or it like scarred me, or like, I don't know about you, but I definitely can like recall exact moments on the court as a kid and just being like, I will never treat a player like that, or like, I will never do that to my own kid, or like, I don't know, maybe I'm more traumatized than you.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's tough. I mean, I would say as a junior growing up, for me, like, I wouldn't say I was easy to coach at all.
Same.
I'm kind of a decent personality, but like, I'm also the same thing. It's like, if I kind of think when I do coaching, like, I'm going to coach the way that I want to be coached. Okay. And that may not be perfect for everybody, but like, I'm not going to sit there doing drill after drill after drill. Like I constantly, when I'm doing my privates, like, I'm like, okay, like we can do some of this, but like, is that going to be enjoyable? Like, is that going to be fun? Like, so we do more, I'm mostly, when I'm doing lessons, I'm doing live ball hitting. We're doing most of that stuff. And I'm not going super crazy on the technique stuff, because like, I wouldn't want to be coached like that. I want to have fun. I want to play. I'm more of a competitor, and I want to play games and all that sort of stuff. Not to say that that's wrong, but I coach basically how I would like to be coached. And I want to have fun too. Like,
yeah,
for the coach, you want to, if you're not enjoying it either, then like, why are you doing it? So
no, 100%. Okay. I have a couple of questions. How do you know when you have a kid that should start playing tournaments, or when is like, I'm sure there are parents out there who have kids your age or maybe just around the same ages, and they're playing tennis a couple times a week and they're curious about entering them into tournaments. What does that look like to you? Or like, what do you recommend that next step of, like, they've been playing tennis, they're interested, what's the next step?
Great question. Okay. I get this a lot. So I would think, in my opinion, if they can serve it over and they can rally, go ahead and start entering stuff. Obviously enter the entry level stuff. I would say, like, in Ventura County, we have VCJTA, which is awesome. USTA with the USTA junior circuit and the level 7s. All of that is great, because it's a lot different than kind of how we were in juniors, where it was like, you played a tournament and like, you hope that you didn't get, the number 1 seed and you lost first round and then you were gone.
Yeah.
Now how it is, it's a little bit better, especially for entry level, where you're going to play a bunch of matches. It's a round robin, and you're going to kind of be there for a couple hours and play, and then have a decent experience and kind of do that. So I think as soon as they can rally and you really feel like they can serve the ball in and keep score, like I would go for it.
Yeah.
When you play tournaments, most of the time it motivates the kid to play more. Most of the time. Obviously, like there's a few times that it doesn't necessarily happen, but I think it motivates the kids to play more. I mean, they have now something to kind of do in the weekends. They're training towards something because they want to do well in the tournament. And it's fun. I mean, tournaments and competing is fun. So I would think as soon as they can do it, absolutely, I would go for it.
Yeah. Okay. And follow up from there is, how do you approach losing? Because I don't know about you, that's like that was like the worst part of tennis. It still is.
Yeah. It's unfortunate that there has to be a loser every match. In a tournament, there's only one winner. I think, I don't know. I'm kind of like old school. I love tennis because of that. I think it's a tough one. It's a very tough one. Now that I see it as a parent, as well as a coach, that it's tough when your kids lose, and especially in tennis, it's an individual sport. So it's not like, oh, the team lost, but I did really good.
Yeah.
No, in tennis, it's like, no, you lost, and now you may feel bad, and that's how it's going to go. I mean, it's just part of the game.
Yeah.
And I mean, you know how it is. Like, you lose so much in tennis. However, it's I mean, you learn so much about yourself on the tennis court and all that. I think it's a good thing. I mean, I don't know. Like I keep, telling my parents, like, I mean, losses are part of it. And the most of the thing that I would say is if you ask the kid, like, did you have a good time? Would you do it again? And they say yes, then we're golden.
Yeah.
I mean, like, because most of the time I mean, everyone's going to lose. Like, I mean, it's going to happen.
Right.
So, but if you're enjoying it and it's something that you want to keep doing, then great. I mean, at first, I think, a lot of kids, they struggle with losing. But I mean, like I said, the greatest part is if you can get them in those novice tournaments, those USTA junior circuit tournaments, those VCJTAs, then it's a lot better because you're not going into just getting smoked every single weekend. You can find the level that you can play. And then I kind of really like the new system that they've had, because I think with the levels, because I actually think it's really easy to kind of like, okay, you can find your level and then, okay, like try to do well in that level. And then you can move up a level and all that sort of stuff. So I mean, yeah, I mean, unfortunately losing is part of it, but I think it's good for the kids in all honesty.
For sure. And I actually am working with an 11-year-old who's only been playing tennis for a year and a half. And she's so talented. Like, it's insane. She's such an athlete.
Awesome.
But yeah. And she just you competing in UTR matches. So it's so interesting to like hear her perspective, because you started tennis early. I started tennis early. Like, that was all I knew as, like, I knew what a USTA tournament looked like when I was 8, and like, she's 11. She has no idea what a tennis tournament. She watched King Richard, and I was like, oh, that's great. That, like, that felt like my life. But, I asked her like, how'd it go? And she's like, well, I played this girl. She was like 2 years older than me, and she had such a big serve. And I'm like, awesome. How did you feel you played? And I played okay. I'm like, okay, do you want to go back and do it again? She's like, yeah. And I'm like, okay, here's a new perspective.
Yeah,
like,
for sure.
What a great way to look at it. Not like, oh, I lost, it sucked, I'm sad, which, like, sometimes we just hang on to the word loss too long. And it's like, what can we pull out of this? I don't know.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you're just looking for the progression, for sure.
For sure. You mentioned your parents. I was curious what kind of relationship you had with your parents growing up through tennis, and if you've adopted some of the similar, like, if it looks the same, or you're like, I love you guys, but.
So, actually, to be honest, I actually started tennis at 11 and a half.
Okay. So I disregard what I just
said.
A little
late. I started a little late. No one in my family plays tennis. I have 4 older brothers. I come from a baseball family. My dad still thinks that maybe this tennis thing is a phase. Maybe one day I'll come back to baseball. Like I grew up with a batting cage in my backyard. So tennis is a little, not, I wouldn't say weird for my family, but it's definitely something we didn't do. But it wasn't, like I was watching Wimbledon one day and my mom asked me, do you want to take a lesson? And I said yes. And kind of like from there, that's kind of where it went.
Nice.
My mom was pretty much, she was, the big driver in my junior career. I mean, she not only was the driver of the car, but the driver of my tennis. Like she was there 95% of my matches, keeping score. She, which I think in junior tennis, like you're I mean, as much as we would love our children to be self-motivated to do all this stuff and we can help them, you're going to need at least one parent that's going to be, a driving force to do it. So shout out to my parents for being supportive of my tennis, and my mom for, sacrificing all the weekends and all that stuff and all the money and all that sort of thing. And so she was pretty much like the instrumental thing of, me getting better and all that sort of stuff. And as a tennis parent now, obviously as a coach and a parent, like with James, I'm the driving force there. He wants me to be there every time. Like if I can't be there, he doesn't really want to play the tournament at this point. He just kind of, and it's funny. But it's for us, it's unique because he kind of gets it because he's seen me play. Mm-hmm. Like I took him to National Grass Court 35s when he was 5 years old. And so when I play, I almost kind of look at him too, because he kind of knows what I'm talking about. And then it's kind of it's kind of a thing now. So, yeah, I mean, as a tennis parent, you'd love your kids to be self-motivated. Most of them they do, but you definitely need to help for sure.
But yeah, let's talk a little bit more about James, if you don't mind. You guys went to Little Mo, which is in Florida, right? On clay.
That was the internationals. Yeah.
Okay. Talk about how you even that led how you got to there.
Okay.
That's crazy.
It's kind of crazy. Like I said, we've been kind of training. I have a lot of really good juniors that are very young, like 11 and under. So James is 8. And so we have a little group that, is about 12 to 14 kids, and they're all kind of around the same ability. They're in between 8 and 11 years old. And I just did during COVID, we just did a lot because there wasn't really, you kind of had to do a small group, and it was such a funky time, and we couldn't really do camps because of big groups. So I kind of worked with them a lot. And then, James was 7 at that time. And so I was like, he looks pretty good. I think he's pretty good. So, and then, I mean, I don't know if the listeners, viewers know what Little Mo is. Little Mo is basically for the 8, 9, 10-year-olds. If you think that your kid's pretty decent, you kind of put them in there, and it's kind of their national championship, international. They've had a lot of pros come through there, like Jensen Brooksby, Brendan Nakashima. I think Borna Koric played one of the internationals. So and Coco Gauff. So kind of if you feel like the kid is young, but when they're 8 or 9, they don't really have a lot to do playing tournaments wise. So you kind of put him there, and then that's kind of what I did. I didn't know how good. I thought he was pretty good, but I didn't know, and so I kind of wanted just to see. Because you look on Instagram and you look at oh man, this kid he's 7 years old, and it looks amazing.
Yeah.
So, and so I put him in. They did a regional in Berkeley, and I had another couple students come, and he won that one. And I was like, oh, okay, well then he's doing pretty good.
Yeah.
And, he looked pretty good. And so then we went to nationals, and he ended up winning that one. And then so I was like, okay, well then, he's doing pretty good there. And then we went to internationals in Florida and on the clay, and then he ended up winning that one too. So he's doing well. I mean,
no big deal.
He's very young, so it's it could be cool, it could be amazing, or it could amount to nothing. You never know. It's great, but also scary because I've done the research with the kids in Little Mo, and 50% of them go on to either pro or like high Division I at big colleges, and then 50% of them don't do anything. They don't really play anymore.
Mm-hmm.
So kind of that's kind of the big goal for me, is to like make sure I don't mess him up, I don't burn him out,
Mm-hmm.
and he enjoys playing tennis, because I mean, it's a long, long road. I mean, if you look at James at 8 years old, he has 10 more years in the juniors, 10 more years of his dad, in his ear all the time. And so like, I mean, that's going to get annoying. So I have to kind of keep it as chill as I can. And at any time, it's just such a long road. You can have success early and then not have it later. And so.
Well, and that's I want to segue into gear, but before we get there, and I want you to like plug your Instagram if you're comfortable, but your Instagram is like one of my favorites to follow because there's like so much James content, and he's like, first of all, the cutest kid. Also, like, I obviously have never seen him play except on Instagram and the videos I've watched, but like, he seems like such a grind player. Like, he gets every ball back. He's out there practicing his serve. He's whatever. But the thing that I have taken away the most is the in-betweens of tennis is like, it's so cute. You guys are like going to get Jimmy John's sandwiches. And like after the matches, it's like, we got to go here. And then we're doing this. And like, we're hanging out with our friends. And I think just from an outsider looking in, that's got to be like, oh my gosh, this is so cool. I get to do all this fun stuff and play tennis. And it seems like so far, good job. That's all I got to say.
Thank you. I mean, I'm trying to keep it fun for him.
Mm-hmm.
I have another son, Bo, who's also 6. And, those guys, I mean, when you have 2 boys, like, I mean, they're doing silly stuff all the time. And, Bo's starting to play a little bit now, so we'll see what happens with him. But yeah, the in-between stuff, I mean, like, that's that, like, that's, yes, there's the tennis stuff, but like, there's also the in-between stuff, which is super fun. Like,
right?
Staying in the hotels and going to get lunch and all that sort of stuff. Like when we did junior team tennis, and like all the whole team were staying in the hotels, and we went to, the mini golf place and
mm-hmm.
all that sort of stuff. And that's the stuff that you remember. Like when I talk to all my friends that, grew up, and we all remember going,
like
to
zonals
zonals.
Yeah.
And all that stuff. Like that's the stuff that you remember. And I really hope that, like, I hope James is enjoying it, and he remembers these things. And I try to, mirror the things that I really like doing. And, with tennis, it can be such a grind when you play, and, it's nervous, and you get matches, and then, but if you have buddies and friends and
mm-hmm.
to kind of be with, then it makes it a lot easier. We're trying to have some good times all the time, and go different places. Like, when we went to Florida, we went to the Everglades, and then there was a cool part was like, there was a rain delay for like 8 hours in Florida, but like all of the 8-year-old boys, like they were all playing together. And I thought it was great. And I think that's what it's about, and that's what it should be about.
Mm-hmm.
And the more they can kind of do that, the better, and the better experience they have, and the better they're going to think of tennis.
Yeah.
And, which is kind of what you really want, especially as a coach and, as a parent as well.
Yeah. And then one more thing that I think you've done a great job with is he's playing doubles also, which every college coach out there is like, thank goodness. And did he win mixed doubles at Little Mo also?
He won regular doubles.
Regular doubles. Okay.
Mixed doubles. He was a little nervous to play with a girl, I think, that he didn't know. He played with a buddy that he met through Little Mo, and they won the regular doubles.
Nice.
And so, yeah, I mean, doubles. He's playing a tournament, singles and doubles, in this next weekend too. And so, yeah, I mean, like I said, I'm a big doubles guy.
Mm-hmm.
I think doubles is fun. It takes a little pressure off yourself, and like you get to play with usually your buddies, and it's more fun. And yeah, like I said, like college, they want doubles players,
mm-hmm.
and it helps develop volleys and all that sort of thing. I can't really, stress enough how juniors should play doubles. I would love if tournaments had more doubles, because it's just another way for the juniors to get better and practice their volleys and all that sort of thing.
100%. And even speaking to some of the players on the tour right now, there's a big kind of push from some of them to get doubles rankings to mean more than a singles ranking for a doubles tournament. So yes, there's
I know
this big.
You guys have a lot of like the girls that play doubles on the tour, and like I agree. It's really weird to me. I will say that like doubles isn't as popular as singles, which is weird because in pickleball it's completely switched, where singles is not really cared about where doubles is. And doubles, to be honest, like some of the points in doubles are like incredible.
Right?
And so, yeah, absolutely. And so I don't it's such a funky dynamic. I really feel like when I go to play to watch like some of the pro stuff, I definitely watch a lot of doubles.
And most tennis players play double. Like most recreational or like club players are playing doubles.
What would we say? Like 80%, 90% play doubles. Like all the USTA adult leagues is doubles. It's like some little singles, but it's mostly doubles. So you would think it would be more popular, but hopefully.
Yeah, we'll see.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay, let's transition a little into gear because this is a highly questioned topic. I don't think anyone.
I got a lot of hot
takes. Okay, amazing.
I'm a big gear guy. Like I obsess about this sort of stuff. So
I love it.
I hope we can have some good answers here.
Okay. Well, I mean, like first things first, what racket do you start your kids with? How did you figure out even like, do you just like say, okay, this racket says between the ages of 6 and 8, like we'll start here and then go from there. And then the biggest question would be also is like, how do you know when your kid is ready for a bigger racket? And how do you know about strings?
Okay.
I should be able to answer these, but I don't. You're the expert here.
With junior stuff, especially youngsters, like young ones, like I don't think it's been very explored in the slightest.
I agree.
Especially having James, who's at a high level at 8 years old, playing in 12s tournaments, like it's really funky to see kind of like how rackets are and the string stuff and all that sort of thing. So, first thing, let me answer your question. So with kids, it's a really hard one because I don't necessarily subscribe to like, 6 to 8 years, they need to use this racket. Every kid is different. Every arm length is different. I don't really know until I see the racket in the hand with the kid.
Yes,
so,
that's true. That's so true.
It's really tough to tell that to a parent because, they're like, I don't know, should it be like a 25 or 26 or 23? And I usually say, okay, well, let's bring out the rackets, and then I kind of will decide what looks the best. And then as they get better, I literally deal with this, on a monthly basis because I have players in between 8 to 11 years old, and so it's always like, well, when should they move? You don't know until you know. Like especially like say with James, who most of the players that he played are playing in 27s, and to me, a lot of them look like it's too big for them. But, a 27 will give you a lot more power than a 26. But James is in a 26. I don't think he's ready for a 27 yet. He doesn't look like it. He's just got a long arms and it's just really loosey. but I have kids and the crazy part is like, I have kids that are shorter than him that are in 27s and it looks fine.
And I kind of talk a little bit about like what that looks like. Cause in my head, it's just like a lag of the racket. Like,
it's such a hard one to kind of quantify because it's like such like tennis pro speak that I would say. So for James, he's got really long arms and he's so loosey with his swing. So it doesn't look like he's necessarily always in control of his racket. For kids that are like have just shorter arms or more compact, like they're just built more compact, the longer rackets are better. Just kind of depends. Like I have an 11-year-old girl that she's in a 27, Yonex V-Court one that's 27, and it looks fine. I have a kid who is shorter than James, in a 27 and a half. I didn't do that, and it looked fine, but it looked absolutely fine.
That kid is going to be ruined. Not anything wrong, but as someone that played with a 28-inch racket in juniors, and then went to college, the racket got discontinued, and then was like, where do I go from here? And unknowingly played with a plus size racket my whole college career. Like, I feel like this poor kid is always going to have like a racket that has a 350 swing weight.
Yeah,
but it's okay.
Yeah, it's like I said, it's interesting, man. It's definitely like uncharted territory, especially when you talk about players that are like Like I have one, he's a little guy and he's 8 and he's in a 25 and he's playing 12s, regular ball. And I don't know how he can hit the ball as well as he does with a 25. Pick up the racket, it feels like a toy.
Yeah.
But man, he can really swing it.
That's crazy.
You know, and so like, and I know I talked with his dad, it's like, well, you know, like when we do 26 and it's like, couple more, 6 more months and then we'll kind of see. And so,
well, and so does that transition look like a demo process with the kids, or is it more like a suggestion, like this would be the next step? And at that age, do they even, obviously, like we all kind of relate to like feel differently, but like, are they pretty aware of like this racket might feel softer or firmer or anything like that?
Yeah, they're actually pretty cool when you talk to them because they're not necessarily like the feel. They just know what they like and what they don't like.
Right.
So it's usually you start them with a racket that they think looks cool, whatever their favorite colors are, and there's just so many to choose from, obviously. And so, like James loves the color red, so he's playing the Yonex VCore 26 because it's red. He just likes that.
Yeah.
And so he got used to that. And so, so if you start them with something that they really want to pick up, that's great. And then as they transition into bigger rackets, you give them a couple of rackets, and they're so, you know, they're kids, so they don't really, oh, you know, the string bed, you know, is just so open, and they just go like, I like this, I don't like this, and that's kind of what they do.
Yeah.
And so they're pretty cool in that particular way, and it's pretty easy for them to kind of know. It's mostly more like my call is to like, does this look correct in their hands? Because the kids, like, they'll hit like 10 balls and be like, I love it. And you know what kids are, and that's it. That's what they want to play with.
And what about the string aspect? Because James is hitting with Hyper G last time I checked, which I love.
So yeah, I have a guy.
I feel like write all the hate email too.
Yeah. So and absolutely send it to me. Send it to me. I will tell you the reasoning why he is in this. I have a stringer that I work with, Daryl Pollard. He's a really, really knowledgeable, and I feel like I'm decently knowledgeable from playing so much. So yeah, James, 8 years old, 26 racket, in a poly. Most people would say, "What are you doing? You're going to kill his arm," and I would, for the most part, agree with you. However, Solinco does a really cool thing where they make super thin gauges.
There you go.
So what we started with, and this is when he was in a 25 with orange ball. You know, the string that they give you in the pre-strung racket, it's nice, but when you have a kid like James, like who's playing tournaments, it's like, I mean, they need something different. So
durability.
We started him really low tension, so he plays at like a 41. So the thought process is, let's put him in a low tension at a very thin string, like a thin poly. So what you're getting is the feel and pretty much the same kind of like stiffness level as like what they're going to give you is like a 16 gauge, like multi or 16 gauge synthetic gut. So that's going to be, it probably is a little bit firmer, that 16 gauge, than a 20 gauge poly, right? So, because you're talking about thinness. So that's kind of what we were thinking there. And then kind of as he got a little bit better, then obviously 20 gauge wasn't gonna, like, he was breaking string and with green and orange ball. And then so we went to 19 gauge. As he's gotten that started to break a little bit more. Like we just switched him to the 18 gauge Hyper G soft.
Okay, nice.
So, and he likes that one, and it's at 41 pounds. That's kind of my recommendation to most of all the players that I have. So we go super kind of low with the string tension, and we keep the gauge pretty thin because I that seems to work. I have no kids that are complaining about arm stuff. I mean, yet. So, and I think that's the cool part about like Solinco making those super thin strings, because you can kind of make it a pretty nice playing bed of string, but have the poly, benefits to having spin. And so, like, it's a weird niche of like kids that are 8 to 11 years old that are good.
Yeah.
But like super young. So like when you look at like the rackets, like, I mean, obviously there's not as many players like that. So it's kind of tough, but yeah, it's a weird waters to navigate with that particular group for sure.
Are you his stringer? Or are you?
No, I have a guy that strings for me. I'm I never wanted to string. It was
me neither.
I looked at it, I was like, maybe I should string, and I was like, I don't want to do this. This is too hard for me.
But like growing up, I always remember like going into a shout out to Super Sports in Manhattan Beach, the stringers and like getting my rackets restrung with my parents. Does he like partake in that experience also? Is he part of that?
Oh man, no.
No, not yet. It's okay. He'll
He's
get
like,
there.
oh yeah, this needs. He's 8, so like,
He's like, these
like
rackets need to be
they're not
restrung.
like. He's just like, oh, the string broke, and he kind of will play with the racket until the string breaks, and then he's on to the next one. He's not particularly like, oh, I got to play with a fresh bed, you know.
Okay, that's good.
He's just kind of like, he's just playing, and I mean, he's just hitting and doing that sort of stuff. So, you know, I wish he was a little bit more into the gear stuff, but he kind of is just like, yeah, I need a new grip.
At the end of the day, like you said, he's 8.
He's more about having a new grip. He wants to have a new grip like a lot, which I get.
I do
having
too.
a new grip is awesome.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of more where he's at.
Nice. Any other controversial gear opinions?
Ooh, controversial gear stuff.
What shoes is he wearing? And does he wear adult shoes or junior shoes? And do you notice, sorry, we could really geek out on this. Do you notice a significant difference between junior and adults?
Okay. So he's in junior shoes. He's like in a size 4, I think. Mm-hmm. However, like, I don't know if parents have kids that are super finicky about like, there's just so sensory kind of thing. So like, shoe stuff, like we'll order stuff from Tennis Warehouse, and like I ordered all these different pairs because like one will feel the right way, and then once we get the right kind of shoe, then I'll order like a ton of it.
Right.
Yeah, because you know he's finicky with that sort of stuff. He's in the New Balance one that he's been playing with, and
nice.
As weird as it is, it's like there's also like kind of like the shoelace stuff because he has a really high like kind of arch, and so you know, like I kind of mess with his shoelace stuff and like try to tie the shoelace a different way. So like it's crazy. I mean, like for me, like I just kind of put shoes on and like I don't even tie them. So
no, I get it though. I get James. I like used to always have
him. It's like, you know, like I have like a different shoelace method, and then we've got the ones that are like the elastic laces now, and those seem to actually do pretty good because they don't like get untied, and then they kind of like flex with his foot. So that kind of seems to have been working pretty good. Nice. So far.
Nice. Okay. Yeah. And I don't know, you probably are aware. I don't know if most of our listeners are aware, but like a lot of tennis shoe brands, between their adult and junior models, they are created differently, like a little cheaper, but there are a couple of brands, and I think New Balance and K-Swiss are two right off the top of my head, that it's a full takedown. So it's like their model is the same, but just smaller sizing for the juniors. So
yeah, I wish most brands would do that because it's really helpful. I mean, for James goes through, I mean, you know, I mean, we all go through shoes so fast.
Yeah.
And if it's a takedown model, it's just like you get maybe 3 weeks out of it.
Exactly. Yeah. Right. Especially on a gritty hard court.
Yeah. And then, you know, and so it'd be nice.
Shout out to some of the other brands.
Please do that if you can.
Okay. Well, we have like, I could probably just keep talking about to you about all this stuff, but I had some like fun kind of like end questions.
Fun end questions. Okay.
Fun end questions.
Fire away, Michelle.
Also, what's your gear of choice right now?
Okay. I'm a 27.5-inch racket guy.
Okay.
Always been, I'm playing same racket as James. The Onyx V-Core 100 plus.
Nice.
I've been playing with that for a while. I like the SV one, the black and red one. Love that racket. Can't find it anymore. Would still play with that racket if I could. I had a bunch, and then it's just
they're gone. They're like no one can find them.
No, they were great. That was a great racket. So I transitioned into the new model. A couple of those, and I like those. I like those. Those are pretty good. And so yeah, I mean, I love Giannis. I think it's a really nice product.
And then are you also stringing with Slinko Hyper G? Soft, maybe?
I am not. I'm not a Hyper G guy. I actually like the tour bite. I'm like old school tour bite. Love that string. I've been stringing with that for, I don't know.
Oh, forever?
10 plus years.
Yeah.
But I string relatively low. I'm at 45.
Okay.
Can go a little bit lower depending on conditions when I'm playing. But yeah, like I love the Slinko tour bite's really good. I love people like the Hyper G. I haven't really tried the Confidential yet too much because I just the tour bite's pretty much it for me. I like it.
Nice. What shoes are you rocking on the court?
Oh man. I used to be a Nike guy for sure.
Yeah, you were wearing like the NXT Reacts for some of your pickleball.
I haven't had a lot of luck with Nike lately. Not to say it's a bad product or anything, but it's okay. It hasn't quite. They used to, like, the ones before were really good. Mm-hmm. I have the Asics ones.
Gel Res?
No, the faster ones.
Speed Solution.
Yeah,
Speed. Yeah,
those ones are awesome. Yeah. I bought like 6 pairs.
I was gonna say, how did you find? They're like, no one can find pairs of Asics right now.
I knew that was gonna happen, and I bought I think I have about 5 pairs of them.
Nice.
So I have them in different colors, and I pretty much wear them until they have holes in the bottom.
Perfect.
And they've been really good. I really like that shoe. Really nice shoe, really comfortable, and actually really durable for a speed shoe. Because sometimes with shoes, especially being in tennis pro, like you're on your feet at least 6 to 9, 10 hours a day. Mm-hmm. You've got to have a shoe that's pretty comfortable, and that one has really been it for me.
Okay, couple more fun questions.
Let's go. Let's do it.
What would you rate as a better win? A win of your own or a win of one of your sons? Like James just won Little Mo and you just won.
That's a tough one.
Which one's better?
Dude.
Right?
I mean, winning Ojai was pretty cool for me. I will say that was pretty cool. However, I think James winning nationals was really cool just because it's been a long journey from him hitting his first ball. It's just super cool to watch your kid just, be able to compete and play and be successful. That's awesome. But just be able to enjoy the sport that you really enjoy. And I think it was really cool. Like I was caught up in emotions for sure. Mm-hmm. In that one. It was a really cool experience to see him, do that and really just compete and fight and enjoy himself the way he did in that tournament. That was a big win for him. And as a coach parent, yeah, it was super cool. I mean, it's definitely a nice little moment for sure.
I love that. And then my other fun question was, what did you want to be when you were growing up? And how does it relate to what you're up to now?
That's a great question. I had some really nice role models. Shout out to my coach, Mark McCampbell, in my junior days. He was always super cool, a super nice guy. And I thought that was what he was doing was really cool. So I was always open to the fact of being a coach because I thought that was a really fun job and you get to play tennis and you get to help kids and adults and everything with their game. I was always open to that. Obviously, when I went to college, there's a lot of different things. And then as you play a lot of tennis, you kind of go, well, do I really want to do this more? And I was teaching, and then I was kind of trying to figure out, like, do I want to go away from tennis or not? And then I got offered the head pro job at Sunset, and I honestly, I didn't think twice about it. Mm-hmm. I knew that if I took this job, this would be tennis for my career. Like I said, shout out to my director, Paul Steele. He's been there for over 30 years. He's an awesome guy. I wouldn't want to work for anybody else. And I was so happy I took that. And I knew, like I said, I knew that was going to be my career, and I was totally fine with that. And it's been a great ride so far.
I feel like we all go through it. There's a lot of us that are still in tennis, but I feel like we all go through a phase where we're like, should I get far, far away from tennis and not be that tennis girl anymore or tennis guy, like that tennis Michelle?
Well, yeah, I mean, you're in tennis along with me, and we played. So it's a long road, like I mentioned, and there's so many ups and downs, and there's so many times you go, do I want to keep being in tennis? And because this is something that, like you almost, you're known as tennis,
right? Yeah,
And
it's
so
you.
the thing with that is I've always been comfortable with the fact that tennis is a huge part of my life and it's shaped me as a person. And so, and I love it. Like,
And that's the thing too, is it shows when you start talking about it, you're like, okay, well, this person, you are meant to be doing what you're
but
doing.
that's the thing, when you get in kind of those, like those valleys, you're kind of like, should I get away from tennis? And it's like, well, no, because like, that's what I want to do. Like it shaped me so much as a person and taught me so much and all of that sort of thing. Like I would never want to really get away from it. Like some of the people that I know that don't really play, like the guys I know from juniors that don't really play, like, or don't really even do it anymore. It's good for them. I don't personally understand it. Even for me, like I'm a coach and I still play, I will find myself going to the court, even if I'm not working. Almost every day. It's if I'm not coaching, because I still go coach a little bit and then I want to hit, and then, or if I'm playing pickleball, which is still going to the court. It's just something that's just a part of my life. And I'm totally, like I said, I'm totally fine with that.
I love that.
Because it's active. And when I have and during quarantine and all that stuff, I was dying because I needed to get out and either play or just go out there and just feel at home on the courts.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. And that's it. I feel at home on the courts. And like, that's the best place to be, at least I think. Well, you think too, I'm sure.
Agreed. I'm sure a lot of people think that as well.
Yeah. Any like last bit of advice that you can offer to a parent that might be listening and their kids might be struggling with motivation or they just aren't having fun? What would you just kind of say to encourage them and be able to help them encourage their kids?
Okay, great question. I deal with this a lot. So first off, you want to find a coach / program that they're going to enjoy. If they are not having fun, go find another place. There are many places that you can find. Sometimes, especially in junior tennis, if the fit's not right, you can move on and all that sort of stuff. But really, and I've said this a bunch in this interview already, but find a place they're going to have fun. They're going to enjoy going to. Mm-hmm. And whether or not that's like technical work or what you think as a parent is more beneficial, it's wherever they're in. If they want to go there, then that's where they should go. Mm-hmm. That's 1000% it. Because sometimes as parents, like you'll get the well, you know what, you're not really working on this, and it's like, but okay, but like it's such a long road. Mm-hmm. And so you want to have some place that you're going to go that's going to be enjoyable. And then also for parents, it's really tough for a lot of parents because they didn't go through playing juniors. And not saying that that's wrong, but everyone seems to stress out on the now of like this next tournament or this last tournament or this month they haven't been playing well, what's going on, all that sort of stuff. I know it is a long road. It's all about the progression. So I have parents going like, like they played terrible. Like, I don't know what's going on. Like, what's wrong? I go, well, let's break down the match. When they played this player last time, did they get a better score? Well, they did. Okay, so that means improvement. Mm-hmm. So look at the long progression. It's a long, long road. If they're enjoying themselves and they're playing, they're going to get better. And trust in the process. In our program, we have goals and all that sort of stuff. So, but remember, it like progression and improvement it's never on a line that's like just straight up. Mm-hmm. It's always like, yeah. So you got to ride the wave. Yeah. And I think with a lot of parents, I get it. I'm a parent. I get it. Like they're just hyper reactive as to kind of what happens. And you're really just trying to have your kid improve and go through the progression. And if they're doing that, then they're doing well. Mm-hmm. Obviously we want our kids to, immediately have success. And it's not like that. And you have to look at it, you have to look at it as an 8-year, 6-year, 10-year process to get to where, you want to go. And it can't happen today. It might not happen this month. It might not happen next year, mm-hmm. but it will eventually happen. And you just got to keep trusting it.
Nice. No, that's great advice because it's definitely something that comes up. And yeah, I mean, I feel for all the parents out there that are
Yeah, no,
navigating.
like I said, it's been a funky one because I've always been a coach, so I'm like more like kind of like, oh yeah, great, like, you did well, okay, yeah, you're getting better. But as a parent, it's tough. It's so emotional. You can be so emotional, wrapped up in every point of your kids playing, which I mean, I get. So like for me, it's easier to go into coach mode when James is playing
Hmm.
and just
Hmm.
go like,
Hmm.
oh, okay, was that the right play? Should he have done that in like in a term of like point play stuff, not just like, oh, he missed a shot, like, oh, like, what's going on? They're not moving their feet. Oh,
Hmm.
like, what?
Hmm.
It's just like you just gotta relax and like, okay, are they playing the right way? Are they being a good sport? Are they doing all this sort of stuff? And that's really what matters more than anything, not the score and the UTR and oh my UTR is gonna go down and all that sort of stuff. It's more about just like I said, it's about taking your time with the progression. Some kids improve fast, some kids improve slowly, some kids improve really quick in 1 month and then kind of plateau. So it takes a while.
Hmm. Yeah. Wow. Okay. I mean, I feel like we could have like check-in segments of like check-in with Quinn and figure out what's going on with junior tennis and your tennis. This has been super insightful and I think
Thank
hopefully
you.
really good for everyone listening, whether you have a kid in tennis or you're coaching tennis or all the above. I don't know. I mean, even myself, it's so interesting to like look back. Like, I don't know if you ever have this experience, but like as we get older, I'm like, I don't feel like I've gotten older, but then I look back at my experiences and I'm like, oh wow, there's been so much in the
So
tennis world that has shaped and like changed the way
yeah,
that I am and react. And like even I coach college in my mid 20s. If I were doing that exact same job today, I would probably change about 75%
yeah,
of the
for
way I
sure.
approached it.
Well, yeah, no, as you get older, you learn a lot more, and you learn what's more important and what's not, and
Hmm.
and all that sort of stuff. So, yeah, I mean, we're getting older,
I
Michelle. I
know.
mean, we kind of are. Like,
What the
sadly,
heck?
sadly, I have students like that are married with kids now, which is so creepy for me. Not creepy for them, but like it's weird. I still feel like I'm like 25, and
Same. I think
you
me
know,
too. Maybe we're stuck in 25. We're
yeah,
young at heart.
we're just finding it so hard. Like we're not old. We're not
What
old.
I like the crazy thing too is like you're talking about like make sure it's fun for the kids. And like as an adult, as an adult, now I'm like, okay, if I'm gonna train in the gym, I'm gonna do what's fun for me. It's like literally a parallel. Like if you're gonna be consistent at something, you gotta find the fun in it.
Absolutely. I mean, like, especially like if you're coaching little ones and stuff like that, always you're having fun. They're gonna have fun. Everybody wants to have fun.
Yeah.
Everybody, it's not just a kid thing. It's an adult thing. It's a 80-plus-year-old thing.
Yeah.
Dogs want to have fun. Everybody wants to have fun. So like, if you can keep it that way,
We're here
you're
for the
going
fun.
for
That's what,
sure.
okay. So that's what we're taking away from this episode. More fun in 2022. How can people follow you? And even if they're local, check out your program.
Okay. Yeah. Thanks. I have an Instagram. It's called Quinn to the Wild. Like into the wild, Quinn. And it's with one N. I actually have two N's in my name. A lot of people still think I actually spell my name with one N. So it's QuinToWild
Cool.
on Instagram. We do, if you want to see not good YouTube content, you can come to I have a YouTube, which is like James basically at 4 or 5 years old walking around his house thinking he's going to be a YouTube star.
Yes.
I mean, if you could watch some of those, I'm sure he'd love that.
We will be sure to link them in the episode
Yeah, oh
also.
yeah. All the kids in my program think it's like this is so funny. And I'll put some tennis stuff there too. So yeah, there's that. And Sunset Hills Country Club, Thousand Oaks, California, 4155 Roof Road. We are a private country club. Have a emerging, a really nice junior program that's coming up. So if you're ever interested, text me and get me on my Instagram, all that sort of stuff. If you ever want to come train, all that sort of thing. I mean, like we're private, so we kind of have more members and stuff like that. Obviously, it's really nice, and Thousand Oaks is a great area. I love living here. I love being in Ventura County. and all that sort of stuff. So yeah.
Yeah, and anyone listening as SoCal kids, I don't know how you were, but I know like driving an hour to a lesson or a clinic wasn't a big deal. And so if you're in LA, like Thousand Oaks isn't that far, or even like Santa Barbara, Thousand Oaks isn't that far. Like I know we're very like commuter friendly. So if you're listening, you have a kid and you think like this could be a good fit, it might be something to check it out and reach out to Quinn.
And if you're far away, or if you're like, I obviously know a lot of, really great coaches and great programs. There are so many in Southern California to choose from. So if it's, if you're not close to me, all that sort of thing, I can definitely recommend anything else to that, because, SoCal, we're so privileged to have this many great programs and great players. There's so many great coaches out there really doing great stuff. And I think like even with like USTA, Southern Cal has done a great job, I think, in the last 6 months of really trying to get kind of everything going back with all their programming. So yeah, I'm all about it. For sure.
Nice. And then last but not least, if you have any questions, especially about junior gear, and like if Quinn really wants to get into it, you can send him videos of your kid hitting. Sorry, I'm signing you up for extra harassment, but we're more than happy to help. So leave them in the comments below or reach out to us on email, podcast@tennis-warehouse.com. And yeah, this was awesome. Let us know if you like this episode, if you want to hear more junior tennis content with amazing coaches, parents.
Smash that like button.
Subscribe. Right. Quinn has a goal to get this episode high numbers. So let's.
All my kids are gonna watch it. All my club members, I hope.
Yes.
If you don't watch the whole thing, it's fine.
It's fine.
Just smash that like button, get a sub. You know how it is. I have to watch all these crazy YouTube videos of games, so I know how it is.
Comment, subscribe, share with your
friends. Comment. The algorithm gets better.
I swear, all of that. Thank you so much for joining me. This was super fun. It was fun to
thanks for having me, Michelle. This is awesome.
Yeah.
Like you said, I think we could talk even longer, but
we'll just have to schedule another episode.
Yeah, we gotta get the views up though.
Yeah, only if the views are up.
Yeah, the views are up, then we could do a part 2 for sure.
Perfect. And thank you so much. I guess that's it. Happy hitting.
All right, cool. Thank you.
Cool.